Hi again, and thanks for joining us for this month's episode of Cook the Book. This is Valerie, and I'm Tina, and we're here to talk about a book and then get some inspiration from the book to make a recipe. So, because it's March, we've got our green on, we got our green tablecloth, we found a beautiful green book, The Heiress by Rachel Hawkins. Rachel Hawkins has a lot of fans. She's written a lot of great books. This is her newest one, again called The Heiress, and just came out a month or so ago. And it focuses on the McTavish family that are millionaires that live in a beautiful estate in North Carolina. In fact, they're the wealthiest family in North Carolina. And it tells us about Ruby McTavish, who had passed away a number of years ago. She was always the favorite child of her parents. They were so wealthy when she was a small child, she was actually kidnapped and held for ransom. And so that was her whole saga of growing up. She was always known as, oh, you were the one that was kidnapped. She was returned safely, and you'll find as you read the book, there's more to that story than you realize. And as she aged and went through a number of husbands, she was widowed 4 times. Her full name is Ruby McTavish Callahan Woodward Miller Kenmore. And again, as you read through the book, you find out that most of the husbands, okay, all of them, died with some questionable things that were never investigated, again, because people held the family in such high regard. Because they were so wealthy and basically owned this beautiful mansion and owned a lot of the town too. So even though things looked a little strange, sometimes people just overlooked it because of their respect for the family and the family's money. She never had any children, but decided to adopt a son. So when she passed away, all of her wealth and the beautiful home and all the acreage went to her adopted son, who was an adult at that point. He wanted nothing to do with all of that, and he allowed his cousins and aunts and uncles to live at the estate for free, but he moved away and started a new life in Colorado with a new wife who knew nothing about who he was or what his fortune was, or did she? You'll have to read to find out. So, to bump ahead a little bit, he becomes a teacher, again, leading a very normal, everyday life, very basic home that they live in, and he finds out that his uncle has passed away, and he is required to come back to the home place, the estate, to finish up some legal type things. He doesn't want to go back, but his wife encourages him to go back, so they do, and then that sets in place a whole series of events regarding the estate, regarding the family that lives there, and there's a lot of things you think you know, but you really don't know. And if there's one thing I love in a book, it's thinking I know where it's going, and then I find out I did not know at all. This book also brings into question, it doesn't matter how long you've spent with someone, do you really ever actually know them? Which is something to ponder too. So it's a great book, and she has written also some young adult things, Rachel Hawkins, the Hex Hall series, so I would encourage you to pick up one of her books, but The Heiress was a super quick read, great I think you figured it out, but you haven't. And there's just like so many layers to the story, which make it so interesting. So again, March, we were inspired by the green cover of The Heiress. So we've got kind of a green food item.
We do.
Yes.
Okay, so these are quesadillas. They're veggie quesadillas.
Mm-hmm.
They're made with the spinach tortillas, making it green,
Uh-huh.
which is
Yeah.
super fun. And this recipe came from the Pioneer Woman Cooks Dinner's Ready. So super easy to do, especially if you like quesadillas and that kind of stuff, which I do.
Mm-hmm.
So
Oh gosh, and most people do.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And they're very kid-friendly food too, because you can add what you want.
Right.
I mean, if you don't like something, leave it out. If you want to add something else, you know.
And honestly, even if you were making it for your family and your kid only wanted cheese, or an adult, a picky adult, maybe only wanted cheese, you could you'd make just a cheese one and everybody else could have.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so for this recipe, you needed a yellow bell pepper, red bell pepper, small zucchini, poblano chili, Anaheim chili, and both of those peppers aren't super hot. So, I mean, I don't know, you could probably add different things if you like a little more heat to it. And then 2 tablespoons of olive oil and some salt and pepper. So what I did first is I cut up all my vegetables into little thin slices. The zucchini, you half it and then cut it in little thin slices, and then I put it on a pan and put it under the broiler. And I think this was about 8 minutes, but mine took, about 8 minutes. This took a little bit longer. So you just judge, you know, how your oven goes, since they're all different. And I did stir it halfway through and then put it back in for a little bit longer. So then we have some nicely roasted vegetables. And also you need an onion that you're gonna saute until they're caramelized. So that's also, I would say, depending on your burner, depending on your oven, all that, 8 to 12 minutes, something like that. So did all that. And I mixed the vegetables together in her recipe. She keeps them separate because you'll see, well, you're supposed to put the onions on and stuff, but I just went ahead and mixed them.
That's the easiest way.
Yeah. Also, fire roasted corn, which you can get in the frozen section, which I didn't know that until the other day when I went to get this. So that's super nice, and it smells amazing. So that will be in here as well. So the pan that you saute the onion in is what you're going to use for your tortillas. So you don't rinse it out or anything, you just leave because you kind of want the oniony taste to it. So to get started, we're gonna put a tablespoon of butter in there. I mean, because that always makes everything good.
Of course.
So once that's melted.
And we love Ree Drummond here at the library. We have a number of her books. She's written a couple children's books. We have several of her recipe books and cookbooks and books about her life. And I love her cookbooks because she's got the great recipes in there, but also stories about her family and life on the ranch and going to football games and just kind of what her life is like.
Yeah, and I love it too because it's so down to earth, and it's, I don't know, just kind of really cool.
Yes, yeah, for sure. I also love her dog.
I
can't think of his name, but
the little basset hound.
Yes,
He's so cute. Okay, so when your butter's melted, just go ahead and put your tortilla in there, and then you're gonna put pretty much any kind of cheese you want. This is a Mexican blend. For her recipe, she says grated Monterey Jack, so, you know, whatever you prefer. And you're just gonna sprinkle it all over the tortilla shell.
And if you're someone who's opposed to the spinach tortillas, you could also make it with regular tortillas. But I find to me, like the flavored tortillas, spinach or the tomato basil ones, where they're just add a little something. It's not an overwhelming taste at all to them, so don't be afraid of them.
Yeah, even if you don't care for spinach, it might be worth a try because it doesn't taste like bold spinach.
Right.
Or okay. So then once you do that, she said to sprinkle the onions on and then put the corn on, but since I mixed them all together, we're just gonna go ahead and put the vegetables in. And you can kind of do it to taste. This makes 3 tortillas, this recipe, so she just says to do a third of the vegetables and stuff, but kind of whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
Put some of those in there. And I like to kind of make sure they're slightly evenly pushed around, so. But you're gonna cover half of your tortilla. Because you're gonna leave the other half just the cheese.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah. And then a little bit of the corn on it.
That corn looks delicious.
It does look delicious. It's really good. And again, something to taste. One thing with the vegetables that I did is I put a little bit of the tahini on them, just to add a little extra, like Mexican food flavor. So then once you do all that, we just have to wait for our cheese to kind of melt. And plus you want your tortilla to be brown, like a golden brown. So, but be careful because you don't want to overdo it and then have it burn.
No, that would be bad.
Yeah.
And I do love that everyone can kind of pick their own, I don't like corn, so leave the corn out, or I just like cheese, or.
One thing when we do quesadillas at home, we put chicken on them. Like, when I make the chicken, I put like lime juice, tahini, and I'll sprinkle a little taco seasoning over it, and I bake them. So a little olive oil, a little butter, and then I just bake them, and they bake up so nicely.
I never thought about baking them.
Yep. So just do that, and then I just slice it and put it on here. But a lot of times we'll put black beans on it too, because I like black beans. So, but that would go really good with a vegetable or the vegetable quesadilla if that's what you were gonna do. So, our cheese is getting pretty melty here.
I'm always guilty of trying to put too many toppings on during things like this. So it's nice to just
too.
And then you think it was great, and then it's all falling apart and everything's oozing out.
Because there's so much on it, and I'm like, well. You think I would learn after all these years, but.
So this is a smart way to only put stuff on half. Well, the cheese all over, but then the veggies only on half. Makes it a little easier.
Yeah, I like it with the cheese all over, because then you have your vegetables and they'll stick to it, and it'll be.
Oh, I didn't think about that,
Yeah. Because my luck, they kind of fall out. Things would go bad. Alright, so another few seconds here.
And you could also do it with the small.
You really could, the small tortillas, definitely.
Yeah.
But you just want to make sure your tortilla is crisp. And
I just love food like this.
I do too. It's like I said, so easy. It's so kid friendly. Like my kids love when we do quesadillas. All right. So then once it's ready, you just flip it in half. And that's basically it.
And honestly, to make this at home, if you were to buy this in a restaurant, like with a side of beans and rice, you'd probably pay $12 or $15.
Oh, easily.
And again, you can pay $15 and probably get all the ingredients here.
Oh yeah.
And have enough for multiple people.
Oh yeah. So and it actually smells so good. Actually, it almost smells restaurant-like.
It does smell like a Mexican restaurant.
It does. So then you can just cut it into your desired number of pieces. One other thing that she does with this, that's in this recipe, is her cilantro lime cream sauce, crema sauce.
Ooh.
And it's 1 cup of sour cream, 1/4 cup of milk. She has a 1/2 cup minced fresh cilantro and grated zest and juice of 1 lime. My family is kind of, some like cilantro, some absolutely don't. So I get the par-dried cilantro, and I just put about a tablespoon in there. That way it's not overwhelming for those who don't like it, but there's a slight flavor, so those that do get that too.
That's great.
So,
do you want to put it on here maybe?
Sure. Grab this.
Gosh, this looks so good. And this is really pretty healthy and pretty filling.
Exactly.
Especially if you paired it with, a side of some sort.
Absolutely.
Honestly, like even the corn, you could have some corn as a side even, the leftover corn. Or,
yeah. Well, one of my favorite things to make is a restaurant style like black beans. And it's just, I do 2 cans of black beans, about 2 or 3 tablespoons of taco seasoning, and I saute some onions that I put in there, and then some garlic, and just let it simmer for about 15 minutes, but it makes the perfect side dish for this. So.
Absolutely. Well, I love this recipe. And again, from the one of the Reed Drummond cookbooks, so we do love Reed. So thank you so much for joining us. If you're in Central Ohio, we would love to see you here at our library. If not, you can visit us online or follow us on social media to see what's up. And again, Rachel Hawkins, the heiress, really, really good adult fiction book. So we hope to see you next time.